Welcome to our One Smart World Smart Thinking webinar. This is Bob Wiele, founder and president of One Smart World, and I'd like to welcome you to our 30-minute session today on meetings better, faster, smarter. These are practical techniques for leaders, and we hope you enjoy it. I'd like to thank you for taking your time today. I know time is a valuable resource, and at the end of the day, I hope to give you some techniques that'll save you more than the half hour it's going to take you to learn some of the material on our session today. Our focus is to give some simple tools to our clients, and we're so happy to be able to be of service to you. The work that you are doing and we are doing is so vital because people are working more difficult circumstances under greater pressure than ever before. And although we have really smart people in the workplace, we need better processes to help them be successful. So welcome, and we welcome our colleagues from Germany, from Abu Dhabi, from across the United States and Canada to this webinar. And as we go through the webinar, what we'd like to make sure that you do is you can uh, recognize that the webinar will be recorded. You will receive a copy of the slide deck presentation, and we will be out of here in 30 minutes. For those of you who have questions, please use the question box, and we will be glad to respond to you as quickly as we can. The tweeters out there, if you want to join in the conversation, we always have a couple of prizes that we'll give away, so we encourage you to join us and send the messages out to your colleagues. The objectives today are straightforward. We want to talk a little bit about why accelerating collaboration is key. We want to give you a proven method that will increase engagement and get more done in the meetings that you plan and run, and that the techniques that we offer you will be able to be practical and something that you can be able to use right away after the webinar. Our agenda is to cover who we are as a company and the 5 topics that you see. Collaboration, the 5 principles of a smarter meeting, how to plan using the system, how to facilitate using the system, and some simple ways to get started. So One Smart World is a global movement to transform the lives of individuals, teams, and organizations by teaching a universal common language to improve skills in thinking, problem solving, and collaboration. Our system provides practical knowledge and simple tools to help develop resilience, increase appreciation for diversity, and to help improve the quality of relationships among people. And we do that through our training programs, our change management programs that accelerate collaborative teamwork and innovation, and we also certify professionals in the industry. Our focus is to build one integrated system. We've been at this now for a decade, and we're the only people in the marketplace that have both a people development and a productivity improvement system off a single platform. And we're going to be talking to you today not about the 40i, but around the smarter meetings processes. But they use the same language, and the goal is to accelerate business results. When we work with organizations, these tend to be the impact objectives that our clients choose and that we can deliver on. Collaboration is our overriding theme, accelerating collaborative teamwork. And one of the assets organizations have is the intelligence of their people. And our system is designed to help you maximize and optimize the total intelligence of the group that you've got with you. At the end of the day, we want to help you reduce time, get more done, better decisions, better quality decisions, and also to help you accelerate innovation. The clients we work with are large organizations and small organizations in government at all 3 levels, in the public sector and in the private sector. And we also do a fair amount of work in education. We're doing more and more work with universities, with community colleges, and with K-12 system, teaching the core skills of thinking, problem solving, and collaboration as 21st century transferable skills that are essential for success in the global workplace. Now, let's start off with why collaboration is key. Well, Microsoft and Verizon did a study a few years ago. It's called the Frost and Sullivan study, and it showed right across the world that collaboration, a collaborative culture, the social capital in an organization was more important than strategy or technology. In other words, if you've got a collaborative culture, you've got ways of spotting problems and addressing problems by tapping into the total intelligence of the people in the workplace. We have on our website, the One Smart World website, something called the Meeting Cost Calculator. All you need to do is go to our website, look at Smarter Meetings, scroll down to the Meeting Cost Calculator, and what you can do is calculate the cost of meetings in your organization. Here's an example. One of our clients is a large bank, and we work with a head office team of 130 people. So the average number of people that would meet in that group, in that organization, was 130. They weren't in a meeting together, but the average number of people in the unit was 130. They spent approximately half their time in meetings. They worked 47 weeks a year, given time off and training and holidays. And the average cost per person per hour, when all things were considered, travel time, heat, hydro, and everything, $125. You can plug in whatever numbers you want. We'd asked the people separately before we started this exercise, when they went to meetings, what percent was a waste? And they said 25%. So if you do the math, they're telling their shareholders that basically, 50% was a waste. They're basically saying to their shareholders that 25% of the time I'm at work, I'm adding no value because I'm spending half the time at meetings and half of that is a waste. When you do the math, here's what we came up with. That the overall cost of the meetings was $15 million in time. The total opportunity for improvement, that 50% loss, was $7.6 million. So the investment in learning new ways of streamlining your meetings is no different than the total quality movement in manufacturing. How do we eliminate waste and optimize the talent and resources we have to get more done? So a smarter meeting is a place where everyone agrees to do the same type of thinking at the same time and follow a disciplined process to achieve the outcome. So that's what we're going to be talking to you about today. How do you do that? WestJet, one of the Canada's best airline, used our system in a 3-year study on the impact of training in the workplace, and they achieved a 558% return on their investment. For every dollar they invested, they got approximately $6 back in quantifiable benefits by saving time, by using the discipline process we talked about. So the focus here, you accelerate collaboration by having smart people and smart processes to get great results. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So the 5 principles that I've developed when looking at meetings has come out of like decades worth of work in trying to understand what underpins successful collaboration and what do you need to do to build success. So we're going to walk through each one of these. The first one is diversity. The second one is having a common language. The third one is having a disciplined process. So when different people get together, like in any other enterprise, whether it's a rowing team, a dance troupe, a group of people flying airplanes, or people working together in a sport environment, discipline process is key. Then the rules of engagement. When you get together, what are the rules of the pool to make sure we all are successful together? And the fifth one is positivity, which has been proven over and over again as a key causal factor for high-performing organizations. So the first principle is diversity of thinking. Different people are smart in different ways. One of the things that I've learned over 40 years in the business is that people are smart in different ways. Schools don't appreciate that, but people are very smart in different ways and bring all kinds of talents. So when you get together, the diversity that we have is universal. Not only do we can come from different genders, different races, different ages, different backgrounds, but diversity is a core element to high-performing organizations. The problem is the demographic differences that we have, our ages, stages, our backgrounds, are one element. And second level is I'm from manufacturing, you're from human resources, she's from the IT department, and we really don't talk the same language. So the knowledge and skills diversity makes a second level a barrier for us to deal with. And the third one is where we've spent our time is on cognitive style diversity. That not only do we look different, we're from different ages and from different cultural backgrounds and different professional training backgrounds, but we also think and feel differently. So can we create a common collaborative platform for us to build and accelerate collaborative teamwork? And what happens in teams and meetings is because of our diversity, we're often pulling in different directions. And I often refer to these as bumper car meetings. You get in the bumper car and you all start going in the same direction. Then you start turning and whacking into each other. And someone hits you from behind or on the side. And it's a lot of laughs or a lot of frustration, but you really don't get a lot done. The second principle in our 5 principles is common language. So what we've done is create a common language that helps people understand how they like to think, and it also allows them to do the same type of thinking at the same time. So if you're driving in a car, whether you're driving a Lada, a Lamborghini, or a scooter, if the red light is on, and if we all stop, there won't be any accidents. If the green light goes and all of us hit the gas at the same time, there won't be accidents. And if the yellow light goes, we all behave the same way, there won't be accidents. The problem is when we just go at our own leisure and our own pleasure. So the common language is a way of directing thinking when people get together and directing behavior. So the 4 dimensions are red, yellow and green. And the fourth dimension, the fourth one is what we call personal spirit, where we use that as kind of an appreciative approach and a way of initiating. So it's a kind of an accelerator to performance. So red, yellow, and green is the common language. So what we do is use our 40i profile instrument to assess how people like to think, and then we use the same language as a process language, and that's what I'm going to take you through today. So when you profile people, we find that people think differently. People who are high in green are looking for ideas. People who are high in red just want to pitter-patter, let's get at her. And people who are high in yellow are more concerned about the data, the facts, and the feelings in the room. So when we get to meetings, what happens is we're all pulling in different directions, and that's where we get into problems. So therefore, when you look at the application of the common language, when we're doing red as a team, we are all pulling in the same direction. We are getting to the crux of an issue. We are coming to a conclusion. We are arguing and debating. So it's what's called convergent thinking. So we are coming together. We're coming to get some kind of resolution. And in doing that, we have to debate and argue. And that's the appropriate kind of thing. Not on a personal basis, but on what's best for the organization. What's the best decision? What's the right decision we can make? In the yellow zone, we're more balanced, we're slowing down, we're analyzing, we're stabilizing, we gather information, we organize that information, we're being studious and deliberate, we get clear, and we listen and connect with other people. It's really critical that we connect and communicate well. So in the yellow zone, we're basically building our information platform. We're really drilling down and looking at that data to see what it tells us, what the messages are there. And in the green zone, as you can see, they're leaning forward and reaching back to grab as much water as they can. And in the green zone, what the behavior pattern here is to develop ideas and options and look at new ways and reframe problems into opportunities and come up with the insight. So in the green zone, this is what we do. Now, some of us like to do one or the other more than others, but all of us can do all of these kinds of things. And personal spirit, the fourth dimension in a smarter meeting and in life, is kind of like the X factor. It's the ability to appreciate what's going on around you, to feel empowered and in control, and when push comes to shove, to step up to the plate and say, I'll take that initiative. So it's a real key success factor in high-performing organizations. We find organizations where the personal spirit is high. It's a very good culture, a very collaborative culture, a very engaging culture. So now, how do you plan smarter meetings? This is kind of the heart of what we're talking about today. Planning a smarter meeting, we now shift to principle number 3, the discipline process. And this is where we take the same common language to map different types of thinking and different kinds of people in the organization to say, can we use this as kind of almost like a GPS, like a planner to get us from where we are now to the destination? And so we have a series of discipline processes that use the same building blocks. Here's an example of one of, let's spend the next 8 minutes generating ideas, and then we'll take those ideas, organize them into bundles and piles and categories, and then based on all those ideas in that organization, we'll make a decision on what seems to be the best bet, and we'll do that over a period of 20 minutes. So it gives us a process. So what you can see here is that in many meetings, you can ask the question, if you had a pie chart, how do you spend your time? Many meetings will spend a lot of time just on talking. One of our clients recently said they spend 30 hours a week in meetings. Like nothing gets done. So you get emails from them on Saturdays or Sundays or 6 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night because everyone's doing in meetings and it's all yellow. They're just sharing information. No one's making decisions. So you ask yourself, what's the best use of our time when we get together? And come up with the right kind of pie chart. There's an example here on the slide of 40, 40, and 20. Well, that might be right for you. It might not be right for you. The thing is to say, when we get together, what's the best use of our intelligence? Where do we need to put our emphasis? And so the discipline process basically says, depending on the phase of the process we're at, the one we just looked at, green to yellow to red, we are all doing the same type of rowing. We're all doing this. We're behaving in the same way at the same time, whether it's our preferred one or not. So the key to a discipline process would be these 3 components. Number 1 is to set an outcome. Where do you want to arrive at? So do I want to arrive at a decision? Do I want to arrive at a plan, which is yellow? Do I want to arrive at a bunch of ideas? So you determine first what is the outcome. Then you design the process. What are the steps to get there? So in this case, you can see a 5-step process where we start with information, and then we make a decision on the crux, and then we generate ideas, then we make a decision on what we're going to do, and then the white, who's going to take initiative to move us forward. So it provides like a thinking plan. And then the third thing you do is you allocate time for each step. So when you look at the outcomes, in red, there are three very different types of outcomes, and you need to be very clear on this. The first one is the boss might say, or the person presenting the issue say, at the end of the day, I'm making the decision. One of our clients calls his senior management team the 49ers. I said, is that named after the football team? He says, no, I've got 51% of the responsibility and the power here. They've got 49%. So in many cases, I just ask them for their advice and recommendations. They don't have to agree, but I just want to hear what they have to say. The buck stops with me. In other cases, someone might say, I've got something I'm working on. I would like the critical assessment of my colleagues on my current proposal. I need you to beat it up to get some feedback and validate I'm going on the right track or not. And in some cases, if you're looking at collaborative decision making, the team itself will come to conclusions and decisions, which means that everyone has to work really well together to come to something that is best for the team and best for the organization, and that takes into account all the input of all the people in the room. Yellow outcomes are different. Again, the yellow outcome is, I just may have a meeting with you just to clarify understanding. You might not like something, I might not like it, but we just both have to understand what the situation is. Or another yellow outcome is a plan. At the end of the decision, the actual outcome of the meeting is once we've made the decision, we will build a plan of who, what, when, where, how type of thing. A third outcome might be when in a conflict situation, at the end of my meeting, I may not agree with you, but I have an appreciative understanding. I at least understand where you're coming from, and I see that you're seeing the world a bit differently than me, and I can understand that. Now in green, the green outcomes are again three different types. I might come to you and say, look, I just need to borrow your green thinking for the next 10 minutes. Here's my situation. I need a bunch of ideas. Or I can come to you and say, here's the problem I'm facing. What opportunities do you see that maybe I can't see? Can you reframe this into can you find the silver lining for me? Or the third outcome would be, let's take a look at the situation. If we were successful 6 months from now, what does that success look like? Let's build out a vision of success and vision that the possibilities. And in white, if the outcome is at the end of the meeting is white, then someone we're asking people to take initiative. One of the groups we worked with recently, we had worked on a series of initiative items, and individuals in the meeting each took initiative to be the lead person on a particular recommendation. So here's an example of what we call smart tracks. A smart track here is a discipline process that has an outcome, in this case red, a three-step process to get there, yellow to green to red, and then you would allocate time for that. Here's an example of a customer conversation that we use with a client. It's a 30-minute conversation, and what it does is it gives people a set format. It's 30 minutes, and it starts off with, while we want to get to a conclusion and decision, the way we're going to get there is we're going to spend the first 7 minutes just kind of gathering information on what's been happening. And then from there, we're going to move into red, and we're going to determine what's the crux of the issue. We've allocated 5 minutes of time for that. And then from there, we're going to spend 8 minutes sort of sitting back and saying, well, what are some possibilities here? What are some different ways around this? How could we solve this? What are some options and alternatives? And then based on that 8 minutes, we'll take 5 minutes and see, well, let's see if we can cluster those into 3 or 4 viable packages. And then based on that, we'll make a decision in the final 5 minutes on what's the best thing to do. So it provides a thinking plan to help people take some of the emotion out of the issue and kind of walk through a conversation like that. Here's a large scale, that's a one-to-one opportunity. Here's a large scale. This is with over 300 people at WestJet a number of years ago when they were dealing with an economy that was squeezing in 2008, and they wanted to find a way to tap into the intelligence of their top 300 people at the Leadership Summit to think through how can we deal with this issue instead of the VP of Finance going around saying, I need 10% from you and 10% from you. So this was a 90-minute wonder. We call it the WestJet Rapid RIPIT, and RIPIT stands for the Rapid Innovation Program for Inspired Teams. And so one of the WestJetters stood up, and she was trained up on our stuff, and said, here's what the process is all about. The president stood up and had 10 minutes to basically pose the crux of the problem, and basically said, at the end of the day, we don't want to lay any WestJetters off because we're a family here. There's 7,500 people in the organization, and we need your ideas. So they organized into 47 work teams. Teams were given basically a green, yellow, red approach. 20 minutes on idea generation, 15 minutes on structuring those ideas into categories and then developing recommendations. The single best idea that came out of there was called the 10 by 10 program, which is now a legacy program at WestJet. And it was, what if every WestJetter could find 10 ways to save $10? If you do the math, that's $7.5 million. And you know how many air tickets you got to sell to net $7.5 million. It was a brilliant use of the total intelligence of the people in the organization. This RIPIT process can be used in small groups, large groups, and teams to help people think through complex problems and come up with, in this case, next steps and initiatives. So the Rapid Innovation Program always follows the same process. There's a sense of context in yellow, defining of key issues in red, envisioning possible solutions in green, then putting those into packages and bundles, analyzing them, developing proposals, and then voting. And we use the voting card a lot before setting up the initiative teams. So the voting card, what that does is give you a simple tool that you can use to get a sense of is there consensus or not. We also use something called SAM, our Smart Agenda Manager. This is an online tool that you can purchase that has videos, participant materials, and planners, can actually allow you to lay out those kinds of processes. So when you facilitate, the trick is how do we get people all rowing in the same direction? And the key switch here, and it's helpful to explain this to people. You know, for the next 20 minutes, the next half hour, the next 45 minutes, we're going to run a smarter meeting, which means we're going to work together to figure something out. But the essential shift is from doing what we like to do individually to collectively agreeing on all doing the same type of thinking at the same time, the same principle. And so the goal as a facilitator is how do we tap into the total intelligence of all the members in our group in a systematic and disciplined way to figure out solutions together and get more done in less time? Because that's really the focus. How do we get great solutions by working together in a win-win kind of way, but do it in a way that gets it done effectively and efficiently in less time? Essential to a smarter meeting is to assign 4 roles and make sure they are 4 different people. The facilitator is there to keep people on track and keep people engaged and doing the same type of thinking at the same time. The timekeeper is someone who's got a watch, preferably someone who's high in yellow, who likes to do analytical thinking and just keeps by using fingers, 4 fingers for 4 minutes, 2 fingers for 1 minute, to let people know how much time is left in that discipline process. The recorder is there just to write what's being said, and the participant's contract is to be in the zone you're supposed to be in, analyzing and understanding and listening and looking at data in yellow, generating ideas in green, coming to conclusions and arguing in red. As a facilitator, what will often happen is people will fall out of sync, and that's where you can flash the voting card, which we'll show you in a second, to make sure that the person in the middle of the boat here gets back and plays ball, because this kind of behavior around getting angry or saying pushing for a conclusion when we still need to think things through is not helpful. Or this kind of behavior when everyone's driving for conclusions and someone stops the bus. I was in a meeting not so long ago. We were into red zone, and one of the fellows who was a chronic kind of fact analyzer and really liked to slow things down, started to talk, and one of his colleagues said, Joe, we are in the red zone right now. We are driving. I understand what you say. Absolutely, we always need more information, but we have to make a decision now. We need you to start playing ball and getting with us in that convergent thinking. So the facilitator, remember, has to keep people doing the same type of thinking at the same time, and to do it in a positive way. The research on positivity is pretty compelling. Organizations that speak in a consistently positive way outperform organizations that bitch, moan, and complain all the time. So a fellow called Marcel Losada, who's done remarkable work on high-performing teams, actually found that the best teams, the most successful business organizations, the one that got the most done, that were successful by all indicators, had a 5-to-1 positive to negative ratio when the teams got together, which meant they weren't all being nice to each other. But if I differ with someone else in the team, I don't angrily respond. I respond in an affirmative, constructive way by saying, I don't agree with you. I can say something like, I really don't understand that all that well. Could you tell me that in another way? One of our clients, when the president of the organization looked back over the work of his team that we've been working with for a while, said, I've noticed a change in the conversation. People are now responding to each other by saying, can you clarify, where before people would jump on each other? And can you clarify creates a platform for having a positive conversation. So if you're asking someone to clarify, that's more yellow and being open. I want to understand you more. So positivity is a key driving success factor. So here's an example of a simple disciplined process that someone can facilitate. Often it's good to start off in white, just to set the tone and to tune in. So here's 3 minutes, just going around the room, like, what's gone well today? What's one good thing you're grateful for? That type of thing where you put people in a positive, constructive state of mind. And then the next step is to define the crux of a problem. So you might say, for the next 7 minutes, the issue on the table is such and such. We want to define the crux of the problem. The larger the group, this is a very difficult process. You have to make sure you nail what the real root cause problem is. And so the crux of the problem is a key stage of the process. So we recommend you take some time on that. And if it's a larger group, break into smaller groups to have them define what the crux of the problem is, and then get some agreement on that before you go to the next phase, which is generating ideas. So in this 30-minute meeting, 3 minutes to appreciate, 7 minutes on the crux, 8 minutes in brainstorming and envisioning. What are some possible solutions? What does success look like? What are different ways of achieving that? Everyone just generating ideas, no arguing, it's all about volume and quantity of ideas. And then the next step is to take that stuff and organize it into bundles and buckets and piles. You're into yellow right now, you're structuring and categorizing the ideas. And then based on all those ideas and all that analysis, you then shift into red to come up with recommendations. So you're making recommendations at this point, coming to conclusions and making decisions. So this has given you like a 30-minute discipline process to go from appreciation to crux to ideas to analysis to decisions. And everyone has done things the same way. One of our clients recently said they've cut their management team meetings from 4 hours to 3 hours, which in essence has freed up 47 hours a year over a full week for that senior management team, just by using the discipline process. The voting card is a very simple tool that allows people to indicate where they stand on a particular issue. White means a timeout, red means I don't support it, yellow means I need more information before feeling comfortable, and green means I support it in principle. So instead of all opposed, all in favor, all opposed, what yellow does is say, I don't want to vote it down, but I don't want to support it. I need more information. And that gives you a really quick way of understanding what the need in the group is. So in this particular case, the voting card can be used by the facilitator to help people to shift into the color zone and say, this is where we're going to be right now. It helps keep people on track. Instead of being obtrusive just to flash the green, yellow, or red at Fred who's going off track and say, remember, here's where we are. It can be used as a talking stick, or you can use a kind of a poll to say, where are we at in this? And if you got 10 people and 9 people are showing green, then you turn to the 10th person and say, what information do you need, or what objections do you have? If 9 are showing red, it's not going to fly. So it can be used to build consensus as well. Here's an example of a group of people who are voting on a particular issue, and clearly they're pretty happy with what they've got because they're all voting green. So just to show you how that plays out, this was a client we worked with. We actually recorded the vote on the different proposals that they'd presented in the RIPIT, or Rapid Innovation Program. And you can see then on the very first issue, all 40 were on board. On the second issue, there's a bit more diversity in terms of, well, we still need more homework on that. We don't get the kind of full support that we need. Now, to wrap up and summarize, for those of you who want to run a smarter meeting to try it out, I'd say just get started, but do it in a small way. Like try something, chunk it out, take a 30-minute time period, work with a small group, pick an easy issue, select the outcome that you want. If it's a red decision, then map out a 3 or 4 step process, allocate times for each step of the process, and then when you go to facilitate it, make sure to say, for the next 30 minutes, we want to make sure everyone is on the same page, doing the same type of thinking at the same time, and gently remind people when they go off track to say, we're generating right now, we're not evaluating, or we're deciding, we're not adding more information. And at the end of it, to debrief and decide how to improve. So just to wrap up, here's our shameless ploy and pitch. For those of you who took the webinar interested in our materials, you can buy Sam at 25% off for $75. This is your complete toolkit with videos, a book, PowerPoint show, etc. Our book, our voting cards are available as well. Please contact us at info@onesmartworld.com to place an order. Our next Smart Thinking webinar will be taking place on Thursday, January 30th at 1 p.m. It's going to be called Competing on Smarts. the 5 essential 21st century skills students need to succeed, based on a new paper that we've written uh, on uh, on the kinds of skills that students aren't getting and need to get to survive in the 21st century global workplace. And finally, I want to thank you for your time. I know how busy everybody is. If you're looking for ways to do exceptional work, we've got a wonderful group of consultants out there and associates, and we'd be delighted to help you out. So please contact me at bwillie@onesmartworld or our team at info@onesmartworld.com, or give us a shout. We thank you for your time. We hope you can use these tools to move your organizations in the directions that they need to move in, and we want to thank you again for your consideration. Take good care. Have a smart day.